very good morning and a warm welcome to all the delegates on board. Let's get started with the day 11 of QIP. We have Dr. Ajay Namdev sir, Associate Professor and Head, Department of Pharmacognosy in Bharati Vidyapeeth's Pune College of Pharmacy, as the chairperson for the first session. He has an overall experience of last 20 years in pharmacy education and 9 years of industrial research. I request sir to introduce the speaker for the session.
Okay, thank you, madam. A very good morning to all of you. I'm privileged to introduce Dr. Pranay Wal on behalf of Pune College of Pharmacy for the chief speaker of today's session in AICT sponsored quality improvement program on medication safety in clinical practice. So Dr. Pranay Wal is working as Dean in Institute of Pharmacy, Pranveer Singh Institute of Technology, Kanpur, Uttar Pradesh, and he did his master's in pharmacy practice from Manipal University. He has more than 12 years of experience in academics and has more than 50 scientific publications. But apart from these publications, the beautiful part of his curriculum is that he has 10 patents on his credit. He has worked as in managing clinical trials and CRO in past. He has worked and completed many research projects worth rupees 1 crore sponsored by ICMR, DST, UPCST, UBA and others. He is also working on developing medical device with IIT Kanpur in collaboration, and he has authored 5 textbooks so far. He has executed memorandum of understanding with Testy and Dairies, IIT Bombay, UPTI, IODP, then EDI, Ahmedabad, Sankara Eye Hospital, etc. He has developed an insulin and vaccine storage device, which is awarded in various national competitions. So in today's scenario of corona vaccine, also we can utilize his expertise to our guest or to our audience. He had developed a herbal oil, which is awarded a rupees 10 lakh by Honorable Governor of UP in 2017. He was serving as reviewer for Journal of Pharmacy Practice, International Journal of Pharmaceutical Sciences and Biotechnology, American Journal of Pharmacy and Pharmacology. Is constantly writing chapters in books edited by elsewhere. He is a foundation member of Association of Community Pharmacy in India, ACPI, under which he is involved in conducting various health care related activities. He is life members of Red Cross Society and participated and conducted AIDS eradication and polio awareness programs in Udupi district. So with this brief introduction, I'll welcome Dr. Pranay Wal sir to start his session. Dr. Sir.
Thank you, Namdev sir, for such a beautiful introduction. And I welcome all the participants. And I hope I am audible to you. Am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So should I start the session or should we wait for other participants to join?
Sir, you can start, sir. Please start.
So I hope my slides are visible to all of you.
Yes, sir.
So a very good morning to all of you who are present in this session. And I'm sure you people have learned a lot from this ongoing FDP. And I am thankful to the organizers for inviting me for presenting a session. Hope you all are learning from this ongoing FDP. So basically, I will be speaking on what are the various other opportunities and other therapies which are available through the nature to manage the lifestyle disorders. So Hope you all have studied during the past sessions about the international patient safety goals, like how it works. We identify the patients, improve effectiveness of communication, improve the safety of high alert medications, ensure correct site. So these all things you might have learned in the previous sessions. I will be basically presenting a scenario of our country. Like we have one government doctor on around 11,528 people and one nurse for every 483 people. The reality of healthcare has been presented in this corona pandemic. Everybody knows that what is the real situation of our country. So the time has come that we all should get aware and be motivated for managing the lifestyle disorders through the nature. Like the general, what I believe is the lifestyle disorders can be treated with the lifestyle management. If we are doing proper management of uh, therapy and proper management of diet and exercise, we can definitely control these disorders. So this a small cycle which I want to introduce you. These days our lifestyle habits are becoming very sedentary lifestyle we are following. So the irregular sleep pattern and everything is there. So this is the major cause of developing diseases, diabetes and hypertension, cardiovascular diseases, cancer. All those diseases are developing due to this irregular circadian rhythm. So this is a general chart which shows us that there is release of certain hormones during the 24-hour circadian cycle. So as you can see that there is appropriate amount of production of various hormones during the sleep. So 8-hour sleep is very necessary for all of us. So in order to avoid the stress and to be function in normal, we need to follow a proper sleep pattern. So 8 hours sleep is very important. Early in the morning, there is release of aldosterone, testosterone, catecholamines, and these hormones are really very important for the functioning of our body. So as the day gradually decreases, there is release of during the night there is release of phosphatase, uric acid, and gastric acid secretion. So that is why people advise us, doctors advise us to take food at least 2 hours before the sleep. So that these circadian rhythm really had a meaning. Everything whatever happens in our body is due to a cause. So we should always follow the proper pattern of sleep and follow the cycle, follow the circadian cycle. So what are basically lifestyle diseases? Disease which are caused partially by unhealthy behavior and partially by other factors are known as lifestyle diseases. Lifestyle diseases includes atherosclerosis, stroke, obesity, and type 2 diabetes. These are the characteristics of lifestyle diseases. It has a complex etiology, multiple risk factors are involved, long latency period, non-contagious origin, prolonged course of illness, and functional impairment or disability. These are the causes of lifestyle disease. These causes can be divided into 3 broad categories. The first one is the modifiable behavior risk factors. Modifiable behavior risk factors such as excessive use of alcohol, bad food habits, what I was telling, eating and smoking tobaccos, physical inactivity, and wrong body postures. So these are the basic mistakes which we perform, and these are a very prone risk factor for development of these lifestyle disorders. So we can definitely modify these factors and prevent the development of lifestyle diseases. So there are some non-modifiable risk factors like age, race, gender, genetic makeup. So this we cannot change. All of you are aware, I think. Then there are the third comes the metabolic risk factors like the increased blood pressure, the obesity, increased blood glucose level or hyperglycemia, increased level of fat in the blood or hyperlipidemia. So these are the basic metabolic risk factors which are very prone for development of lifestyle disorders like hypertension, cardiovascular disorders, and diabetes. So these are some controllable risk factors, factors which include habits, behaviors, and practices one can change. Those which are in our control, like diet, the diet what we eat, the body weight, then physical activity, the exposure to sun. These days you people are seeing that whenever we perform a pathological testing, vitamin D deficiency is coming. So the main cause of developing vitamin D deficiency is the inexposure to sun. We are not coming in contact with the sun. So that is where we should daily spend time at least 1 to 2 hours in sunlight. We should avoid smoking. We should limit the use of alcohol. So these are all the controllable risk factors which can be minimized. Then age, gender, heredity, these are uncontrollable risk factors. We cannot do anything for this. These are some major lifestyle diseases like cardiovascular diseases. Cardiovascular diseases are the #1 cause of death globally, and they account for more than 17 million deaths per year. The number is estimated to rise by 2030 to more than 23 million a year. So as the time is year by year, we are close to this mark, and 1/8 of our population will be suffering from cardiovascular disease. So cardiovascular disease are a group of disorders of heart and blood vessels, and this may include ischemic heart diseases, stroke, peripheral arterial disease, congenital heart disease. So these are certain modifiable and non-modifiable other risk factors which are responsible for development of cardiovascular disorders. Basically, high blood pressure, abnormal blood lipid ratio, the LDL level is high and the HDL is down. All of you are aware that HDL is bad cholesterol and LDL is good HDL is good cholesterol and LDL is bad cholesterol. So we should avoid taking fast food. The tobacco use is also a modifiable risk factor. Most of people are consuming alcohol and taking tobacco in the form of cigarettes and other ways. So physical inactivity is also very important risk factor, which can be modified. Like if we are performing 45 minutes of exercise 5 days a week, then it is sufficient for us. So unhealthy diet, this is also a modifiable risk factor. So these are some factors which are contributing for development of cardiovascular diseases. In order to control and in order to minimize the development of CVD, we should avoid these kind of stuffs, and we should advise to in the society also, to our students and to other people who are patients who are suffering from this. We should advise them. We should show the real role of pharmacist, and we should properly counsel them and advise them. Some people are unaware that whether they are having diabetes or hypertension, and they are used to taking pickle and sweets. So we should avoid them. They are unaware. So we should counsel them in a proper way. The second, which is most important these days, is diabetes. Diabetes is a metabolic disorder. This is the way the body uses food for energy and physical growth. There are 4 types of diabetes: type 1 diabetes, type 2 diabetes, gestational, and pre-diabetes. So these days in our country, number of pre-diabetics are increasing, and those who are having blood sugar level at the borderline. The normal blood sugar range is fasting is 70 to 100 ml, but 100 mg per deciliter. But they are having 120, 140. The fasting is having 140, 160. So they are on pre-diabetic category. They are on the verge of developing diabetes in nearby future. All of you must be aware of that complication which diabetes can produce in long term. There are 4 types of complication which diabetes can produce: diabetic neuropathy, diabetic neuropathy, nephropathy, the retinopathy, and cardiopathy. So all 4 are interconnected, and these can be managed by controlling the lifestyle. So if we are properly following the proper rules, then definitely we are not going to have diabetes. So unhealthy diet again is a major modifiable risk factor which plays a very important role. This is a case study which I want to present in front of all of you, that how lifestyle and daily routine can help in controlling the blood sugar level. So basically, diabetes management require awareness, right? And food is the most important thing to control the diabetes. Eating healthy is a cornerstone of healthy living, with or without diabetes. So we should learn to calculate the carbohydrate which we are consuming. A key to many diabetes management plan is learning how to count the carbohydrates. Carbohydrates often have the biggest impact on your blood sugar level. As much every meal, like make every meal well balanced. We should take food in gap of 2 hours. We should consume 5 to 6 times in a whole 24 hours. So little food at every interval, so that insulin is also playing the role. So a good mixture of starches, fruits, the fruits which are having fibers, and vegetables, proteins, fats. Pay attention to the type of carbohydrate you choose. So we should really conscious while consuming food. Some carbohydrates such as fruits and vegetables and whole grains are considered good for if we are having diabetes. So 50% of the management is through lifestyle only. Whenever we visit a physician, like somebody is having a fasting glucose level of 200, then what after 3 months of taking metformin, the metformin is also not working. So they take up with a combination of Pioglitazone or some other anti-diabetic oral hypoglycemic drug. And again, the patient is taking that particular medicine for 3 to 6 months. After that also, they are unable to control the sugar level. So this has become, this is genetically becoming a habit of our body. Like we are on the verge of sending this to our progeny also. So if we are not managing the lifestyle, we are definitely going to give it to our children also. This is a very bad thing which we are having, and we are not paying attention. We are just focusing on what is doctor saying, what are the medications, what he's saying. We are only focusing on that. We should also focus on the management of disease through what the nature is providing. There are various kind of therapies to relieve stress. If we are performing 45 minutes of yoga in the morning, or these days mindfulness yoga is there, meditation. So that is really helping us. So following these kind of therapies and following the vegetables, whole grain food, easily diabetes can be managed. 50% management is through the lifestyle management. So it is very important that we think on this. And various other alternatives are also available, like the food which is rich in those substances which are lowering blood sugar level, like this cardamom is useful, karela is useful, right? Methi, karela, these all things are very useful in controlling diabetes. So physical activity is another more important. If you are diabetic, you should develop a management plan. Proper regular exercise should be there. If you are an alcoholic, the liver normally release stored sugar to counteract falling blood sugar level. But if your liver is busy metabolizing alcohol, your blood sugar level may not get the boost it needed from your liver. So again, there should be very moderate use of alcohol. We should minimize the use of stress. This I have put this because we have here in our college, we have developed a diabetic powder, and this has been granted patent also. And this is basically a combination of 10 natural herbs. So if you are on a pre-diabetic stage, or if you have developed diabetes, you can daily take 2 pouches in the morning and 2 in the evening. And definitely along with the diet, you can easily manage the diabetes. So this is available on Amazon. If you want to purchase, you can order it from the Amazon. Diaport C is the name of this product. Other one is the chronic respiratory diseases. This can also be managed through the lifestyle. If we are following a proper lifestyle, the chronic respiratory diseases can be managed, like COPD. This can be managed. In order to control and prevent lifestyle diseases, eat more of green veggies, fresh fruits, calcium, and fiber-rich food. Make a habit of taking calcium supplements once in a week. Switch to whole grain and multigrain food. Reduce your portion size and eat at regular intervals every 2 hours. Eliminate, or at least try to eliminate, the consumption of oily food. Replace junk food with healthy snacks. Drink plenty of water, at least 7 to 8 glasses of water, 6 to 7 liters of water you should drink in 24 hours. Always take a short walk after your meal. Whenever you take food, just roam around. So these are certain things which are required for the proper lifestyle management through to prevent the lifestyle disorders. So we can prevent it basically. So whatever I think is like as we are going these days, the 2021, and you remember like 2-3 very fast the time is going on, right? So we are on the verge of developing. This corona pandemic has really changed a lot many things, and the future now is artificial intelligence and the mixture of artificial intelligence with the pharmaceuticals. So healthcare along with AI is the future for the upcoming 5 years and beyond that also. The reason why I'm saying this is people these days are focusing more on doctors are also focusing on individualization of therapies, right? They are not treating patient like on the basis of generalized treatment. They are not doing. They are doing a specific treatment. They are giving medications by observing the pathological reports, by observing the family history. So by only doing this, they are getting an idea of the genetic makeup of that particular person and the known and previous allergies of that person. So individualization of therapy is very much coming into concern, and definitely artificial intelligence will gonna play a role in that in the upcoming near next decade. So basically, just briefing, what is AI? The term AI was coined, artificial intelligence was coined in 1956, but AI has become more popular today thanks to the increased data volumes, advanced algorithms, and improvements in computing power and storages. Over 88,000 papers were published on AI in China, USA, Japan, and UK between 2011 and 2015. The 2025, the global AI market is expected to be worth approximately 190 billion US dollars. Recognizing speech and text, identifying faces, the Siri to self-driving cars, Alexa shows some pattern or changes in the body or produce some precursors. For example, in cancer, some genetic modification or mutation occurs in genes, which can be identified by AI, and immediately type of cancer is diagnosed. So Pfizer has built an internal analytics platform that leverages machine learning to identify patients who are suffering from rare disease. This Biomed AI system scored on a rating of 2 against top-level human physicians across 2 rounds of competitions in diagnosing brain tumors and hematoma expansions prediction in a study conducted in Beijing, China. These are some other precision medicines. Imagine if we take any pill and we and our doctors can actually impact our body, how our body is reacting to it. So how AI plays a role in drug discovery. As you all are aware that drug discovery process is a tedious and lengthy process. So if we use artificial intelligence, almost most of the pharma companies are using AI for drug discovery these days. They have set up a unit, and in other countries also, they are spending too much on development of use of artificial intelligence. The CAD or in silico drug designing is at the top of peak. Using AI, we can predict single molecules which form or which substitute can be effective. We can focus on that particular molecule. We can discover top molecules which are likely to go into clinical trials and further studies. Simple structure-based designing, selectiveness and effectiveness can be predicted easily. So GSK is probably the most active of all pharmaceutical companies in applying artificial intelligence to the drug discovery process. It even created an in-house artificial intelligence unit, and they initially called it medicines discovered using artificial intelligence. Now they are calling it in silico drug discovery unit. So in upcoming 2 to 3 years, every pharmaceutical company is going to develop this particular method of developing and discovering the new drugs. The next is clinical research. So as you all are aware that clinical research is very much important these days. Also there is research on herbal products also. We are performing animal studies in order to assess that those efficacy studies. So this is also coming due to the use of in corona pandemic. We have used many herbal products, so those are being also tested. So for developing clinical research, why AI? Applying advanced predictive analytics of AI in identifying candidates for clinical trials. This could draw on a much wider range of data than at present, including social media and doctor visits. For example, as well as genetic information when looks to target a specific population, this would result in smaller, quicker, and less expensive trials, and the cost is reduced to around 1/5. So Paraxel is a company which is doing pretty good, and they are developing innovations with reduced times, and properly they can enroll patients, recruitments. So AI tool were 16% more likely to reach market launch. So at various phases during the clinical research, AI can play a role, starting from the site selection, starting from the patient recruitment, starting from patient recruitment, then patient compensation in case some tragedy occurs, then everything can be automatically controlled. So this will minimize the cost of the expenses which a company has to expense while performing a clinical trial. So these days there are smart health records, document classification, sorting patient queries via email, for example. This is also made very easy through the use of artificial intelligence. Using support like vector machines and optical character recognition, transforming the cursive or other sketched handwriting into digitalized characters. Various mobile applications are being used these days for performing this. And these both are essential for the machine learning based technologies and helping advance the collection and digitalization of electronic health information. This, as you all are aware, that these days the data is very important. Like whenever a physician is prescribing medicines, whether that patient is taking medicine and whether they are being benefited, if they are benefited, they are not going to tell physician that they got benefit. Okay, so this is very important. Like this feedback mechanism is very important, and with the use of artificial intelligence, we can get the feedback of the patient that whether that particular therapy has helped them or not. So whether there is any improvement needed in developing future medicines, that becomes very easy if we are taking help of AI in developing health records. Basically using MATLAB softwares, the machine learning handwriting recognition technologies, and Google Cloud Vision has become an API for character recognition. And there is one more phenomena called Google TensorFlow. I don't know if you people are aware or not. Google TensorFlow can be easily used to detect the damage which our retina is having these days due to the screen time, increase in screen time. Are you aware of this Google TensorFlow mechanism? Okay, I think all of you are muted, so I cannot ask a question in between, right? Okay, forget it. So Google TensorFlow is a mechanism. This can also be utilized for studying the pattern of our retina for the development of diabetic retinopathy. So for that particular disease also it is very important. Then for prediction of epidemic outbreak, prediction is AI is very much taken into consideration and being followed by the scientists. Machine learning and AI technologies are also being applied to monitoring and predicting epidemic outbreaks around the world based on data collected from satellites, historical information on the web, real-time social media updates, and other sources. They support the vector machines and artificial neural networks have been used, for example, to predict malaria outbreak, taking into account data such as temperature, average monthly rainfall, total number of positive cases, and other data points. We can easily predict the outbreak of a malaria in a particular geographical area. So these particular diseases which are very much prone and take a form of epidemic can be easily predictable with the use of this new technology. This is the word first artificial pancreas developed in US. So the US FDA has approved this word first artificial pancreas. The Medtronic MiniMed 670G is a smartphone seized device that continuously monitors blood glucose level and delivers the needed insulin to type 1 diabetes patient directly. And it is expected to hit the market in spring next year. Notably, type 1 or early onset diabetes has no known cure. So this will be a boon for those patients who are having type 1 diabetes. So definitely this technology is going to help them. US scientists are these days working on creating artificial life. So technology is going very fast. And previously we say, there is a saying that small fishes, a big fish will capture a small fish, right? But nowadays the fast fish will capture the small slow fish. If we are not updating ourselves, then we are gonna lose. If we are not updating the quality, like even the Apple iPhone needs an update, right? Every 2 months they need an update. So if we are not updating our knowledge, we are not participating in learning new technologies and developing new skills, developing new courses through with the help of various technologies like Coursera, Udemy, various platforms are there, various MOOC courses, NPTEL courses are there. So we should regularly indulge into these activities and motivate our students to take part. Otherwise, we are becoming the slow fish, and the fast fish will move forward and will be sitting at a particular place only, will not be doing anything. So this is very important thing to create. Like, I congratulate you all to that you are so serious and you are attending this FDP. Definitely you have learned too many new things in the past 12 days. So this improvement in technology and the development of technologies we can catch only when we are listening to other point of views, because everybody has a different perspective. So we should really develop a habit that we are following and listening. We are a good listener. That is very important. Teachers generally are not a good listener. So it is very important that you are a good listener. And then we used to catch the main important things from the speaker, and then we are taking those things with us, and we are conveying those particular things to our students. So that are very important to update the knowledge. So this is basically, I don't think it is, this is a pair of artificial arms for a child which was having a thalidomide tragedy. You must be aware about that thalidomide tragedy, due to which the declaration of Helsinki came into, and we have developed the guidelines. So big data and AI are coming together and they are coming together and developing new courses, and new technologies are being developed so that our future generation is taking course and learning new things. GSK, definitely, yeah, I was going through this. They have developed a bioelectronic medicine. Bioelectronic medicine is a relatively new scientific field that aims to tackle a wide range of chronic disease using implantable devices that can modify electrical signals that pass along nerves in the body, including irregular or altered impulses that occurs in many illnesses. The GSK has been active in this field since 2012 and believes certain chronic conditions such as arthritis, diabetes, and asthma could potentially be treated using these devices. So these, if you will do a Google search, you will come to know what they are doing. This Otsuka's digital medicine. Recently, if you take a medicine and that particular medicine is having some sensors which get activated when it goes inside the gastric, comes inside the gastric pH, and then in your mobile you can get to know. So last year in November only, FDA has approved first digital medicine, Abilify Mycite, which is a drug device combination product comprised of oral aripiprazole tablet embedded with an ingestible event marker sensor. In simple word, it is an aripiprazole tablet with a sensor. It is indicated in adults for the treatment of schizophrenia. Generally, the patients of schizophrenia used to take forgot to take medicines, so they can keep a note of this through this technology. Niti Aayog and our government of India is also doing lot of work. And recently Niti Aayog, Intel and TIFR has collaborated to set up a model international center for transformative AI. And they are naming is that ICTAI. So Niti Aayog, Intel and Tata Institute of Fundamental Research has announced on 7th September that they are collaborating to set up a model international center for transformative artificial intelligence towards developing and deploying AI lead applications based research projects. So various funding opportunities are also coming out. We should develop a habit of visiting the sites of these government agencies so that we are aware. The initiative is a part of Niti Aayog's national strategy for spending more on artificial intelligence. These are some of the mobile applications which people should use, all the pharmacy people should use, and you can gather information. So that much is from me.
On behalf of Pune College of Pharmacy, Bharati Vidyapeeth, I extend my sincere thanks to Dr. Pranav Wall for giving a very informative lecture on, especially on lifestyle disorders. And in the initial few slides, he has concentrated on what are the lifestyle disorders and why actually the lifestyle disorders are there. We can just differentiate between disorders or diseases like communicable diseases and non-communicable diseases. And non-communicable diseases are the directly related to lifestyle disorders. So he has initiated his talk on cardiovascular diseases, what are the major modifiable risk factors and non-modifiable risk factors, and what are the other risk factors which are there. Then similarly for diabetes, chronic and respiratory disorders. And he emphasized that lifestyle disorders can be controlled or managed by continuously engaged with healthy diet, exercise, walking, then exposure to sun, and continuous body movement are required. Sedentary life is the one of the major uh, cause of lifestyle disorders. And I want to inform you, sir, that recently in November to December, I also conducted one quality improvement program, same AICD sponsored quality improvement program, and that is on exploring indigenous knowledge for modern lifestyle disorders. So we got very good response and very good speakers, like they have emphasized on different lifestyle disorders and what are the uh, precautions or we can do from our traditional knowledge or from traditional systems of medicine.
Yes.
And apart from traditional knowledge, Dr. Pranav explained us the artificial intelligence and pharmaceuticals. So this is a coming up field which is there, whereby we can, instead of generalized medicine, what is the current scenario, one can go for personalized medicine. And personalized medicine is the need of the day, or it will be there in future treatment. Then he given certain examples like BioMind, artificial intelligence, and precision medicines, and application of artificial intelligence in drug discovery. Because in drug discovery, there is a lot of data is there which is to be analyzed, and for clinical research also, and CAD. So these are there. These drug discovery platforms can be utilized by artificial intelligence. And in last, he gave again emphasis for all our participants to be aware of not from present scenario, but what are the future needs of not only for society, but for pharmacists as well. So thank you very much, Pranav sir, for your
Thank you, sir.
informative lecture.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Manjusha, and thank you, Namdev sir. Okay.
Thank you, Pranay sir, for accepting our invitation.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, for the informative session. Let's join back again at 11:20 for the next session.